So are they 90% done? What do I mean by that? Did you know that the Internet Computer Today recently made a post referencing a post from the chief business officer of Dfinity, whose name is Pierre, talking about cloud engines? But it's not only that. The Internet Computer Today posted how cloud engines are loading and they say below 90%. What does that mean? Arguably, they're 90% done when it comes to cloud engines, and maybe we're just seeing the remaining 10%. And keep in mind, if cloud engines do fully become operational, so to speak, if it fully does launch, through that, Dfinity is trying to tackle a market that is worth around $1 trillion currently, which is, of course, the cloud market. And I'll get into this in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice and I am not telling anyone to do anything. However, again, if we think about it, cloud engines, it could be so revolutionary. And this is a big thing as of right now that people often care about. And the fact that they're 90% done, it's pretty impressive. So when people like to ask me, oh, is it the major reason as to why the Internet Computer recovered almost 10% in the past 24 hours? Well, it could have played a role. Maybe it's not the end-all be-all, but it could have played a role because some other altcoins out there, they haven't really done much. If anything, some of them have gone down. Not that it really means much if it's only up or down like 5 or 10% or whatever in the past 24 hours. In this space, those movements are like very normal. But the fact that people have kind of reacted somewhat positively to this, it showcases the importance of what Dfinity is trying to do. Because keep in mind, the cloud market, it's oftentimes considered a little bit boring when it comes to some other projects within this space. They instead just focus on random markets that don't really make sense, something that's cool, something that's trendy. But when it comes to that, Dfinity, they're flipping the script. They're like, wait, hold up. Not that many people are focused on the cloud market? Wait, let's check. How much is the cloud market worth as of right now? Around $1 trillion. Why don't we focus on it? I think maybe that was what was going on behind the scenes at Dfinity, because they're like, this could be a hypothetically pretty impressive market, and it already is actually, right, worth around $1 trillion. But not that many projects find it cool or interesting enough to be even focused on that. I thought maybe they're like, whoa, this is kind of a no-brainer, sort of, right, to be focused on that sort of market. Why wouldn't we want to be focused on this? I think maybe that was the mindset, because again, the cloud market, it's boring, but then a lot of people do care about it. It's like, for instance, it's like Skechers, right? Some people out there that I know, they don't find Skechers to be the coolest thing out there. But from what I can hear from a lot of people, a lot of them say it's very comfortable, especially a lot of my friends who are nurses, doctors, and police officers. They say that Skechers are really comfortable. It may not be the coolest thing out there, arguably, but it's comfortable, arguably, some people would say. So when it comes to the cloud market, it's kind of like Skechers, the way I take a look at it. Maybe it's not considered the most fantastic thing out there of all time, but in terms of an actual impact, the cloud market is making big moves. Evidently as seen as how it's currently worth around $1 trillion. And again, when it comes to Dfinity, their kind of, I guess, answer to that market and their attempt to revolutionize it is through something called cloud engines. But it's coming soon, maybe, arguably, because, you know, if we take a look at only 10% remaining, that's kind of hypothetically soon, right? They've already done 90% of the work, allegedly. So now it's just a waiting thing, in my opinion. Maybe people like to say, oh, if they launch cloud engines, will it become the most popular thing of all time? Probably not instantly. It could take some time, but at least it's a thought that counts. They need to lay down the foundation first, in my opinion. It's like, for instance, all projects, they start from somewhere, right? Maybe some projects later on become bigger, or they don't really make it, or whatever. They just become kind of mid-sized. But they got to start somewhere, in my opinion. So it's no different here. People like to say, oh, it's so embarrassing if Dfinity launches cloud engines and then let's say nothing really happens. Well, no, I don't think about it that way. It's laying down the foundation for maybe something else moving forward, right? For maybe bigger, I guess, partnerships, or maybe more use cases. We just don't really know. This is why when I take a look at the Internet Computer at below $3, I'm just thinking to myself, this is kind of ridiculous. Not in a bad way though, but I'm just saying. Last year, just in November, we saw around $9. So we're below $3 currently. My kind of mindset is this: anything at below $4, in which I dollar cost average into the internet computer, I don't think it would really matter to me anyways in the long term, because $4 is over 2 times lower than $9. And if we want to just go further back in time, or farther back in time, I should say, we take a look at the internet computer back in 2024 at almost $19, we're over 6 times lower than that. So anything below $3 or anything below $4, basically, it just wouldn't really matter to me that much, because I get it. The difference between $4 and $2 is really massive in a short to medium term time frame. But over the long haul, it wouldn't really matter too much. Like, for instance, if for whatever reason ICP, or should I say the internet computer, goes back to around $19, almost that, right? Would it really matter if I dollar cost average at like $2, $3, or $4, or $5, or whatever? The difference at that point is going to become very negligible. Like, it's not going to become such a big difference anymore. It's like, for instance, if we take a look at Bitcoin as of right now at around 60 grand, sure, it's had a really big pullback from its all-time high, but at the same time, compared to like $200 or $800, that is just like a rounding error as of right now. That's like not even a big deal anymore, because sure, the difference between 800 and 200 back then when it comes to Bitcoin is really massive. But if we fast forward to today, that difference wouldn't really matter anymore, right? Because now Bitcoin has went on this journey where whether or not 200 or 800 bucks or whatever, in terms of the average cost, it doesn't really matter anymore as of right now, because it's hypothetically already went on that journey. But that's just the mindset that I have currently. Now, when it comes to Dfinity, people like to say, well, they haven't really done too much. Why are they now focused on cloud engines? Does it mean they're abandoning all of their other focuses? That's actually not true, because first of all, they have done a lot. Take a look at the World Computer Day event not too long ago. It was kind of in the beginning of this year. That was really impressive. Not to mention, if we take into consideration that when it comes to Dfinity, they have Caffeine AI version 3. So through that, they're focused on AI. People seem to think that because they're now focused on cloud engines, like in a very vocal way, they seem to think that because of this, they have kind of bailed and gave up on Caffeine AI. But I disagree with that, actually, because there's already version 3. Keep in mind, they would not focus on a version 3 if they gave up on it, personally. It just doesn't seem like that. And if anything, it's being smart, right? Diversifying their, I guess, use cases, and also diversifying what they're focused on. Why not be focused on AI and as well as the cloud market? I don't view it to be a bad thing. Why not, right? Why limit themselves? It doesn't make sense. So when people like to say, oh, but you know, the internet computer, it feels like Dfinity gave up on it because they're focused on this and that. No, I disagree. I think the fact that they're focused on so many things kind of does indicate that they care more about it, because they wouldn't want to be focused on that many things if they gave up on it. That's just my mindset, right? It's like, for instance, if someone buys a car and then they change the rims and then they change, you know, the accessories and stuff like that, that means they actually like the car. It doesn't mean that they gave up on the car. It doesn't make sense. If anything, they like it more. That's why they're putting more into it. In the case of the car, it's a little bit no different here, in my opinion. So when people like to say, oh, Dfinity, they spent around $500 million, allegedly, when it comes to research and development, which is allegedly the case, because they even mentioned that not too long ago. But people like to say that's a lot, but we haven't really seen much. But we have to consider the amount of cost, research, time, and energy it takes to have something like Caffeine AI, to have something like in the case of OEC version 2, or even in the case of cloud engines. That is very resource intensive. Like, they can't just do that hypothetically for free. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not really possible, because they would probably need to hire a lot of employees, a lot of researchers, a lot of people who are very aware of this space, that are in the know. They also need to do a lot of due diligence and check out, you know, which markets are quite feasible and which ones they can actually focus on properly. Again, this all takes a lot of time and effort. It's like, for instance, RJ Scaringe, the founder of Rivian. I was watching one of his interviews, and he said that to like start a car company, it's very resource intensive. Like, there needs to be a lot of capital in order to start something like that. So again, that puts into perspective that it's not just as simple as, oh, you know, I'm going to make a car today. Not that simple in some cases, much like this space. launching Caffeine AI, OIC version 2, focusing on cloud engines. They just can't wake up randomly. Or should I say, the founder of Dfinity, Dominic Williams, he can't just wake up randomly and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to focus on that. Just do it for free. It doesn't work that way, right? In order to launch those products, they need to put a lot of time, research, energy, effort, resources. It's not that easy. So when people like to say, oh, they spent around $500 million on research and development, it's all wasted, I disagree with that. Personally for me, because we're actually seeing the products as of right now. It may not be doing the best, like the products, right? It may not have the best adoption currently, but at least it's starting somewhere. So again, I feel like the internet computer is just starting to cook, or should I say Dfinity. But we'll wait and see what happens. But nonetheless, I'm still waiting. I'm still dollar cost averaging once a month, and that's kind of it. But I'll be sure to make more videos moving forward. So I want to say thank you for watching, and I greatly appreciate it.